Mountainside Podcast. Our guest for this episode is a traditional archery expert, avid bow hunter and conservationist, family man, and really a true one of a kind. It was an honor and privilege to sit down and talk today. We had an amazing conversation. With no further ado, the great Tom Clum Sr. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for making the dangerous trip up the mountain here.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
It's an honor to have you here.
Man.
I'm a big archer and grew up archery hunting to the point where I don't even like to rifle hunt anymore, to be honest with you. You know?
I get it.
But yeah, it's just great to have you here. I'm super excited, and I have a lot to talk to you about, man. I got a ton of questions for you. And
all right.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So you're just getting back from a trip, huh?
Yeah, I was down in near Menard, Texas. We do what we call kind of an immersion clinic, and it's a 3-day shooting clinic basically. But we get to hunt in the mornings and the afternoons, and then we're just working on our shot all day long.
Awesome.
And you know, guys come.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do me a favor, just pull that mic a little bit closer to. Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Perfect.
Yeah. Let me start that over.
No, you're good.
Okay, man. Yeah, guys come from all over. There's a couple guys from California. There was a gal from Washington State who was really neat. She's been hunting with a compound for a couple years. She's killed all kinds of stuff, and now she wants to do it with a recurve. She's ready for the next challenge. So she was there, and so a couple of Colorado guys were there. And so when you got 3 days, you can really dig into a shooting process, and by the end, they're shooting pretty dang good. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to make that jump, but unfortunately with my career and as much as I travel, it's kind of hard to shoot a bow in your hotel room, they kind of frown upon you throwing arrows down a hotel hallway.
Yeah, and if you go the trad route, it takes more time.
Yeah.
It just does.
No, it really does. And I thought I could maybe pick it up and go for it, and I didn't put enough time behind the riser really to be accurate or feel comfortable, because to me, I'm such an ethical hunter. I want the animal to die quick.
Absolutely.
If I am going to take it, and I want to be comfortable and confident, and I just wasn't confident enough. But one of these days, once I get everything all lined up,
get a little more time in your hands, come see me.
Yeah. Well, I need to come see you for some compound coaching at least too.
I do a ton of that. I got some good stuff for you.
Awesome.
No doubt.
Okay. Cool. That's great. So, I mean, it's really nice to have you. I know that you're an avid bow hunter. You have been your whole life.
Yep.
And I just kind of wanted to get into a little bit of the history, because I don't really know that side of you. And I'm pretty sure that you're a Colorado native, right? The last time that we spoke.
I grew up in Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
Yeah. And you've hunted in Colorado, I mean, from a young age up until now, right? Every season pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I had a brother that would take me rifle hunting as a kid. I was a guy that was motivated to bow hunt, and the older guys will relate to this. Remember, there was the show on every Sunday. It was called The American Sportsman with Kurt Gowdy.
Yep, exactly.
I
watched that as a kid. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And they'd have these segments, those Fred Bear, hunting videos.
Yeah. And,
man, that inspired me. And a lot of those Fred Bear films kind of traveled to theaters. And me and my buddies, man, we'd ride our bikes to the theater. We'd watch it 2 times through. Stay in the theater. But anyway, that planted the dream for me,
Yeah.
And so, I rifle hunted until I got out of college. And I said, okay, now I'm going to be a bow hunter. And fortunately, my best friend, Paul, had the same kind of dream. And so we're going to be bow hunters. And anyway, I got a job. Got out of school, got a job, went to the local archery shop, and give me a Bear Super Kodiak, the bow of my dreams.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
My mom could afford a Ward's Westerfield.
Was that
hunter.
A compound?
No, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, Bear Recurve, right?
Yeah, awesome.
And the guy's like, no. You want one of these new compound bows. This is 1976.
Right.
Right. And he worked on me for about 20 minutes and taught me into this Martin Cougar compound, which I loved. I mean, I loved every second I shot a compound.
Yeah.
And then my buddy got a bow too, and he lived on the western slope, like Silk Rifle, Colorado, up that country.
Oh,
there.
that's awesome. I've spent a bunch of time up there in the flat tops.
Yeah,
Love it.
Yeah. So anyway, we went hunting. Fortunately for me, his family, his dad kind of backpacked, and we didn't know any different. We just got the backpacks on. He kind of taught me the ropes as far as how to take care of myself, as far as that goes. And we went hunting.
Awesome.
And I think we spent 20 days that first year and never saw an elk. We went on some major marches. Didn't know anything about elk hunting. Didn't know about elk behavior. Didn't know about where they were at what times, But we still enjoyed our time. And kind of too dumb or stubborn to, we liked it. So second year, I think we scared a hell of a lot of elk. Did some reading. Back then it was books.
Yeah.
There's no internet, and did a heck of a lot of reading, and learned about where they are, what time of year migration, just the whole thing, the life cycle of an elk, right, and what they do in summer range. And by gosh, we started looking different places. We started finding a lot of elk, and we scared the hell out of a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think that's some of my issues with the influx of everybody moving in here, and I don't bash that by any means, but it's just
it's frustrating.
Some guys really don't know, and you'll be sitting on some elk, and they get pushed out just from somebody thrashing around.
I've been way back in some wilderness areas, pack animals, so way back in there.
Yeah.
And these dudes from Wisconsin or Iowa, and God bless them. I mean, I admire them. I do not begrudge them one lick.
Nor do I.
These guys work their butts off to get in shape to carry a heavy pack way in heck back in that backcountry, right? But they've got really good legs. And they cover a lot of country.
But the elk have better legs.
And the elk have better legs. Yeah. So you got about a day or two, right?
Yeah.
And they've got them pretty well moved out of there.
Yeah.
And, then your face was, moving camp and, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so I
didn't mean to interrupt you on that, but I was just
I admire them.
The burr in my side, a little bit.
Yeah. I think I talked to my friends from out of state, and it's kind of like, would you rather hunt every other year and have a better hunt with less people, or would you rather hunt every year? And pretty much to a man, they all said, I'd rather hunt every year. Because they're facing the same thing. They see the crowds. I mean, but now, with no restrictions on non-residents, you pull into a trailhead, there could be
a lot
17,
of Texas license plates.
Well, there's 17 cars there, and 16 of them are out of state. That's a lot of pressure in an area. Right, and that's big country. So, like I said, I admire those guys. I mean, really, they've got the gumption, seriously, to live, somewhere in the middle of the country, and book it out here and get in shape and get a pack on their back and get after it.
Yeah, especially if you're coming from a sea level or like that. Altitude plays a huge factor.
Giant. And those guys are studs. No kidding.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I don't begrudge them a lick, and I don't resent them. But I think we could do better to manage the amount of bow hunters in there. That's what we got with draw areas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't hunt my favorite area, but every 3 years or so,
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I'd rather have that quality every 3 years than have it inundated with guys. So at least I get every 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with my non-resident friends who'd say, yeah, I'd come every other year instead of every year to have a better hunt.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we got
that makes some sense.
We went down a rabbit hole there.
Yeah. It's easy to do, especially when I'm so passionate about archery. I'm sure we're gonna veer off a ton of times.
Well,
but
what was cool when I started was nobody backpacked, and so we had unbelievable country to ourselves. And we got to, how development is yourself as a hunter. You have to kind of inventory through the mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
You got to make a lot of mistakes to become a good hunter. It just is part of the deal.
I'm still making mistakes. So.
Of course, yeah. We will never find the end of the inventory, right?
Right.
But you do kind of knock those off the list, and all of a sudden you start being successful. And I can't remember if it was the third or fourth year, and this is kind of a funny story I've told before, but we'd read Outdoor Life and stuff, and he lived in this little house in Silk, Colorado, and I'd be up there, I don't know how many weekends a year, but we'd float the Colorado and fish the Colorado River, and
that's great,
it was cow country then, You go to the bar on Saturday night, and there was a good fight every Saturday
night.
This is working guys, man, coming in and having a good time, right? And anyways, we fished that morning, floated the river, and we're sitting around the house, and reading an Outdoor Life, and he goes, hey, TC, listen to this. He says, you can cowl these elk in, and there's this deal where you get the collar in one spot, and you get the shooter out in front of him, and you blow his call.
What a concept.
What a concept.
Yeah.
And the elk walks by the guy in front,
Yeah.
Anyway, he built an elk bugle. This is no kid, off of Planet Outdoor Life, out of a garden hose.
Really?
And he plugged one in. He found a dowel that fit it. And it was even not a normal-sized garden hose, a littler one even.
Sure.
And then he notched it, and he carved a flat spot on the dowel for the other end, put it under that notch. You'd blow on it, thing it'd make 3 notes. Like, we had an elk call.
Did he call elk in with it?
Yes.
Yeah? That's
So
amazing.
the next year we went hunting, and this one wasn't a backpack. This was kind of a Jeep in and make a base camp, and then there was like 6 guys, and like, shoot, we got up there, and there's elk bugling all around us. So 4 light is like, which way you guys going? Because it didn't matter. And so we head off, and we start hearing bugling kind of close. Okay, TC, you get up there.
Right?
Right. So I get out there, and I get up ahead of him probably 100 yards. Right? And I hear him. He blows that little elk call. Sure enough, elk kind of bugles in front of me somewhere, and sure enough, he comes walking off this hill. 30 yards, boom, put one right in the boiler room, and we got our first elk.
That's awesome.
We were hugging each other and lifting each other up. This was a big deal,
Oh, that's
man.
exciting, man. Like,
It was a
there's
huge
something
deal.
about that first animal that you'll never forget, especially when it's a big game animal, I guess I should say.
Yeah. And, we'd read books on take these things apart. And stuff. We'd skin some deer. We'd take care of deer,
Right.
We got this elk sitting there. Guys come into the shop, and they say, I'm embarrassed to ask a question. Like, dude, you don't know how – there's nothing that you should be embarrassed about because you don't know how many dumb things I've done, in my archery career.
And that's one thing I love about how humble you are and just open with it. And, like, some of these other shops that you walk into, you don't get that. You don't get –
I've heard that.
You kind of get
that's too bad.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some great archery shops in Colorado.
Oh, heck yeah, there is.
And we're very fortunate here to have shops like Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear and stuff like that. But some of those guys, you walk into these places and they kind of have a chip on their shoulder, or maybe they deal with so many.
I doubt it.
Not
people
smart
coming in archery
people,
shots
but, yeah.
are pretty cool people.
Yeah.
They're what a cool business I'm in, because the people come in. It's not like they have to replace a part and they're pissed off, right? They're coming in because they're happy. They're looking for this cool thing.
Yeah.
And, I don't care what walk of life they come from. I have something in common with them, my interest in archery at least. But then I develop friendships from all walks of life. My diversity of friends is awesome. From the lawyer to the guy on the tools to you just name it, right? And I've developed these friendships through my business. I'd say my whole peer group and everybody I hunt with, except for my family, are people that walked in my door one day. These are my friends, What a great way to live.
Yeah. No, it really is.
Awesome
and you guys are so inviting, too. And I guess that's what I was getting at when I was saying that. And not, like I said, not to knock those other places, but you guys are just, you'll sit down, you'll take the time and really teach somebody and take your time to make sure that they're on the right path.
Yeah, thank you.
Before they're spending their money, too. That's a big deal because
I don't care.
It's not a cheap
if they
sport.
walk out, they were well served, really. And you can't care if you want to have a business like that. Or I always, that when we started this thing, I was like just be good people.
Yeah.
Just be generous, just be righteous, just be a good person. And you know what? That just happens to be good for business.
No, it really is. And
so our team, our people in the shop, we're like a team. We're like a family. And we treat it that way. There's not much of a hierarchy. We all do all jobs. And this is the environment I always wanted to live in, because you spend your life with the people you work with. So when you have a team, when you have a family, you have common, the nature of everybody in my store are helpful people.
Yeah, they really are.
Which is cool,
Yeah, I've never had a bad experience. Like every time I walked in there, it's just been a pleasure to talk to anybody in that shop.
That's good to hear.
And I'm really excited about it. And actually, the very first time I walked in the door, and we started on this a little bit before the podcast, I said, "No, wait a minute, hold it. I gotta tell you this story," because I don't know that you remember or not. Probably not. This was, I don't know, 5 years ago or something like that. And I had bought this. I found an incredible deal on this Longbow on Facebook, and I knew that I wanted to get back into archery because I had just recently moved back to Colorado.
Yeah,
grew up here.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back into bow hunting because I want my son to learn, and he's going on 9, right? Or I'm sorry, he's going on 8 right now. My daughter's going on 9, and they've both picked it up now.
Nice.
But anyways, we'll get into that later. But I had walked in the door and I bought this bow, and I actually had talked to one of my uncles has bought a bunch of bows from you, and my whole family is archery hunters and have been coming to see you for a lot of years. And I said, hey, man, I got this longbow on Facebook Marketplace, and I need somebody to check it out just to make sure it's worthy. I don't know if I bought it, if it's a good deal. I think I paid $80 for this thing.
It was a good deal.
Yeah. So I walked in the door, and you were the only guy there for some reason, or maybe it just seemed that way.
Was it the old shop in the little hole in the wall?
No.
Or was it the new one?
It was the new one.
Yeah, we've been there 6 years. So
yeah, okay. So it was about 5 years ago, I think, if I recall. And so you said, do you got a minute? And I said, yeah. You said, well, just come back here and sit down with me. And you took me like behind the counter by the cash register, and we sat in some office chairs, and it was just a quiet day, and I don't think anybody walked in, and it was just you and me having a conversation, and I wish I could have recorded it like a podcast because it was one of the coolest moments. I had no idea that you were the owner of the shop. I had no idea what you've accomplished as an archer. And you just treated me like any other person that you wanted to help, like a brother or something almost, or a little brother. Nice. And he just said, this is a great bow. We went through it. We talked about the bow that I had purchased a lot. And then I think it was like, I can't remember. I think it was 65 pounds at
28 inches,
maybe
probably.
28 inches or something like that, right? And I'm a big guy. I got a 31-inch draw length almost, I might be 30 and a half. I don't recall. I don't know. Yeah. I let the bow tech set all that up. But, but anyways, you were like, this is a great bow and you could probably shoot it someday, but I wouldn't suggest you start with it. And so I was a little bit heartbroken because I was hell-bent on this really nice longbow. And you just set me straight. I ended up shooting a recurve that day, and then I ended up putting that bow on consignment with you, and you guys were super fair on that. I mean, I made money on the bow. It paid for the recurve that I had purchased, Yeah. And I actually called the guy back that I bought the bow from, and I just said, hey, man, I kind of feel like I took you over a little bit. I didn't know what it was worth. I took it into an archery shop, and they gave me double the money, and I'd be glad to give you another $100.
That's cool.
Or something, And he was a super cool guy. I said, no, it's cool. It was collecting dust and
nice.
Enjoy it,
Good people right there.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. It was a cool experience altogether, just from one archer to another. And I don't know that the guy that I bought it from was an archer at all, because he probably would have known what that was worth,
And probably couldn't pull it back.
Yeah. Well, and I still couldn't. I don't think I could shoot that bow today. So you really set me on the right path, and I love the recurve that I got, and I still shoot that. And, it's as my son got into it, we went down and got him the same recurve. So there's that connection there too, or he's got one of those little Monarchs, just a beautiful little recurve bow that's really affordable. And the whole limb exchange that you guys do is awesome too.
Yeah.
But he is just super addicted and into it, and it just makes me so excited.
Good to hear, man.
Yeah.
You don't know if your kids are going to like the same stuff you do.
Yeah.
I kind of hit a home run. My boys love it. And thank goodness, right?
Yeah. No, they really do, and it's just an awesome experience, and what a great lesson for a kid to experience. I think taking a life, or something like that when it does come down to hunting. And he's so eager. He wants to hunt deer so bad. We have a couple 3Ds in the backyard and stuff like that we shoot at, but
he's gonna know where his food comes from.
Yeah, exactly. But he's super excited to go hunting for the first time. So I think I'm gonna take him turkey hunting next year if we can. We'll get out and do some spring turkey, I think. So
outstanding.
Yeah. But I wanted to share that experience with you because it was so cool, and we actually got into it a little bit more, and that's not the only time. I mean, the second time I went in, I was having some trouble. And I didn't even have my bow with me, and I was talking to you, and this is when I had went back to a compound, and you had kind of mentioned something about subconscious aiming, and that has changed my entire game because I was so worried about pin float and just all this sort of stuff. And you
stick that pin in there, and
it literally took one sentence from you for me to just be like, okay, now I'm slamming, you know?
Nice.
So super cool stuff.
Outstanding.
So great experiences there. I urge anybody that's into archery, whether you live in Colorado or not, if you're visiting, come visit your shop. Just for the experience, even if you're not going to buy anything, you guys are more than welcome to walk in the door,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
And I urge anybody, because you guys have an incredible online store too. Like the amount of longbows that you have that you will not find in any other shop. I haven't seen.
Typically, you know, we've got the compound side, and we've got a range behind it. And typically there are, give or take, 500 traditional bows in that shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's an incredible inventory.
And it's a revolving inventory. They go all, we send them all over the world. We get them from all over the world. So we're pretty fortunate. You know, I got into it at a time, you know, a long time ago. And so it took a long time to build that trust, you know, throughout the country. You know, it started off with a guy like, hey, I got this bow I want to sell. You want to hang it on your wall? That's how it started. It's
really?
kind of an accident, yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
It kind of started that model, but it works really well.
And I guess I got to ask, we're going to go a little bit deeper here, but where's the passion come from for that? Is it just the love of archery, or is it being around the people, or kind of that bow hunter's mindset? Cause
yeah, it's been a lifestyle. Yeah, so there's passion. And and I'm 66 now, so it hasn't, I still got it.
Man, you don't look like it, though.
Well, thank you.
Incredible shape.
But, yeah, I told you where it came from, or what planted the seed, but I think, you know, it's changed now. There's not as much mystery. You know, like when you're a new hunter, there's so much mystery with everything you do. And so that mystery's kind of gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now it's more the camaraderie. It's more of who I'm with. But it's still, I'm still as involved, and I still have the love of this lifestyle that we live as much as I ever have.
Yeah, that's great. Terrific. And I mean, how great is it to surround yourself with people that have a common interest,
it's really
and that are cool people? I mean, that should be a life.
Yeah, a
life goal for anybody.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and through this store and this coaching, and I met some of the greatest people, made some of the greatest friends from all over the place. I'm very blessed in that respect. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's really great. So to break it down for our listeners, because not everybody that listens to this podcast, we're not solely a hunting podcast. You know, we kind of run the gamut on a lot of different things. But just to break down the differences, and I'll let you explain it because you're an expert, the differences between a compound and a longbow and a recurve. And just, I guess a longbow would be more the traditional, or as close to traditional as you could get.
Well, it's close to primitive, I'd say.
Primitive, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of a straight stick, although modern longbows, they put reflex into the limbs. They deflex the riser. It's not just a straight stick anymore. Modern longbows, to do that, they gained speed with the reflex in the limbs, and they took out the hand shock with the deflex in the riser. And so, longbows are very pleasant to shoot. They don't have that hand shock, that kicking in hand like the old school ones do. Although there's a lot of guys that just love those old school bows, and I like shooting them too.
Yeah.
And there's a mystique, there's a passion for that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a cool factor. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Longbows are the simplest thing to carry. You got a stick, man, And
they're so light comparable to a compound and all the iron and, or aluminum or whatever they're made out of.
Right.
Yeah.
A recurve, heavier in the riser and highly reflex limbs. And so they generally have more mass weight. And because the reflex generally, I'm speaking generalities, there's exception to every rule, cast an arrow a little faster. So it's generally easier to shoot a recurve better than a longbow. Although there are fellas that tell me they can absolutely shoot a longbow better, and I've seen it. And they're generally bigger guys. You get a shorter guy like me, the difference in the 5-8 feet a second between my longbows and my recurve, I'm probably going to opt for my recurves most of the time, but I've hunted with longbows, taken game with longbows. I took my bighorn sheep with a longbow and a wood arrow. I've taken cow elk. I've taken, some different critters with a longbow, but and there's nothing cooler.
That's so awesome.
But in general, I want to shoot my best, so I generally hunt with a recurve. Compounds, got a new PSE carbon compound. This thing is feather light. Like if I were to hunt with a compound, it'd be a carbon bow as a mountain hunter for sure. I know they don't have the same forgiveness, so to speak. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're all good.
I will turn that ringer off.
You're all good. If you need to take it too, go ahead.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
So compound bow as opposed to what we'd call a traditional bow, which would be anything other than a compound bow, basically. Could be a longbow, could be a recurve, could be the old, like horse bows.
Yeah.
The Mongol influences, Hungarian influences on bows. It'd still be kind of lumped in the traditional bow world. But there's kind of another class would be primitive, self bows, more of these horse bows, more of that kind of stuff. Might be called primitive bows.
Yeah.
Now, compound bow has mechanical advantage. It's got strings and cables. And when you draw a recurve, it's gaining weight per every inch you pull it back, right? And so it's usually about 5% of the draw weight. So a 60-pound bow basically gaining 3 pounds per inch, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. And then you're holding the entire weight of the bow between your fingers.
That's a lot. It can be a lot of force depending on your limb setup.
Yeah, depending on what weight of bow you're shooting. Whereas a compound, it's going to have a let-off. So there's cams basically these days. It used to be wheels, and that cam rolls over. And it puts basically a lot of that holding into the cables. And so you're holding 20% of the weight of that bow. So if you're shooting a 50-pound bow, you're holding 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot to hold.
No,
right?
It's pretty incredible how the technology's come along with that. It's insane.
And with the design of that bow, for the people who don't know about bows, is they generate a lot more force, tremendously more force. You can hold them a long time at full draw. So there's a peep sight in the string. There's a sight housing with sight pins. And so you center up that pin with the peep sight with the sight housing, and you hold that bow vertical. There's a bubble on the sight that makes sure that you can hold it vertical. And then you're holding the string with what we call a mechanical release. And it's some kind of device that there's a loop on the string that it hooks to. And there's some kind of triggering system. When you press that trigger, it's like a sear on a pistol or a rifle.
Yeah.
The sear breaks, the little pinchers open that holds the loop on the string, and the string goes away. So it's more like pulling a trigger on some kinds. Some styles, it's a rotation in the wrist. Some styles, it's a rotation in the wrist that presses into a barrel that your thumb presses into, and it causes the sear to break, and the shot goes off. And so there's a lot of things in a compound that are like catching features. Draw length is always the same. You pull it back, the bow is set to a certain draw length, and it hits a wall, hits a stopping point. With a recurve or longbow, we use a biomechanical stop. We have to learn how to use our body in such a manner to replicate a draw length. If we replicate a draw length, we replicate a trajectory path. If we can replicate a trajectory path, put a good aim on it, we can be a good shooter at long distance.
And if you're just getting into archery, it's all about constant repetition.
Repetition. It's a repetition sport. It's a process sport.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've been fortunate enough to Robin Hood 1 or 2 arrows in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle said it best to me the other day when it happened to me. He goes, "You made the same mistake twice."
Yeah, those Robin Hoods that are 8 inches off the bullseye.
Yeah.
But anyway, so for those people that don't know anything about archery, the compound bow is much easier, much more powerful. The learning curve is way shorter because the bow does a lot of things. It has a sight on it. It holds 80% of the weight of the draw weight. It has a stopping point, so you replicate draw length. And so with a recurve or a traditional bow, it doesn't have any of those features. You're holding 100% of the weight. Generally, people don't shoot them with a sight. They might use the arrow to aim with. It's a very valid way to do it. They may be what we call an instinctive aim. They look at a spot, they pull it back, they anchor in, and they focus on that spot. It feels good, and they shoot. They use the throwing the baseball analogies.
There you go. There's my same mistake twice.
There's your Robin Hood. The first couple of those are really cool. After that's like, damn, bro.
Oh, well, that's what I said. Shit, there goes $12.
Exactly. But anyway, to be a archer with a traditional bow, it's a heck of a skill set to obtain. It's a cool skill set.
Yeah.
But what's weird about it is, when I tell guys, a bow is a bow. So the same mechanics, biomechanics, the way you position your body, the movements you make, are pretty much the same with a recurve or longbow or a compound bow. When it boils down to it, people think that a recurve bow is, you've got this heavy bow, you pull it to your cheek, you burn a hole in the target, and you let go. No, if you treat it in the same manner and you build a good holding position, and you know how to aim it, maybe you're going to use the arrow point to aim, and then you settle in, and then you increase tension in the string to a follow through. It's pretty much like a compound shot. It kind of looks similar.
Yeah.
You're not just snapping, just pulling it back and let it go, which is great fun, but you're just never going to get real good at it, at any kind of distance.
Right.
What's amazing is you can kind of get good at short distance just doing that.
Oh, yeah.
You throw enough baseballs, you can kind of hit.
And I think that's kind of the advantage to a traditional bow or a recurve, right, is it tends to be a lot faster because you don't have all these components that you're trying to line up and hook up. And
amazingly, there are absolute advantages to a traditional bow when hunting. I can shoot that bow from any funky position. I can shoot it parallel to the ground.
Yeah.
I can do it quickly.
I've seen some of the videos of you like shooting under a split rail fence or like a chair or something like that.
Laying down or laying on my back. You can literally shoot at moderate distances pretty well like that, which you can't with a compound.
Right.
It's harder to get there's things about a compound that are harder.
Yeah.
There's more to think about. There's a lot more going on, so to speak.
There definitely
with
is.
the bow and how you're doing your business.
It's crazy because I brought this up on the podcast before, and I got into, about a year and a half ago, I just went down this rabbit hole of just reading Native American culture books, and stories.
It's a great rabbit hole.
And, I've loved it. It's been awesome. And I have like a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage, like I'm talking like an 1/8 or 1/16 of Cherokee in me,
Yeah.
But anyways, I went way down this rabbit hole, and I got into this on episode 4 with Mark Montoya, another archery guy. He's an ultimate fighter coach. Great guy. Shout out to Mark.
Nice.
But we were talking about, in one of the books that I read, they talked about the process and how sacred a bow was and how they cured it. And basically when the child was born, they would make a bow or cut a limb off of a willow tree or whatever they were making out of, an aspen or a birch, and they would hang it in the top of the teepee for 5 years and let it cure. And at that 5-year mark, they'd hand the kid the bow.
Wow.
And,
cool
the
story.
strings were made out of...
read that, yeah.
Oh, it's really cool. It's the book is The Story of Crazy Horse by, I think it's Joseph Marshall. It's a great read. It's awesome. And the audiobook's even better. That's actually how I took it in, and I'm pretty sure the author read it, but it was a Native American guy that did, if it wasn't the author.
Man, before I leave, I got to punch that in my cell phone.
Yeah, man, it's a great read, and you can find it just about anywhere, any library. I think it's a really popular book. But in that, to even go a step further, they talked about the arrowhead making process and what they made the string out of, like intestines and just all this different stuff to cure the bow and make the bow. And they even got into, like, if they were in wartime, how to cure bows faster. They'd bury them in coals and just all this crazy stuff. And it was just really cool, especially, I think the reason why I loved it so much is my archery background.
Yeah.
Or having that passion for archery. And obviously this guy or whoever wrote this book knew a ton about it and the traditions that stood behind it. And not only that, it tells an amazing story about Crazy Horse. But one of the things that I remember most from the book, and I'd love to go back and read it again or listen to it again, they were talking about, as the kids, started shooting, they would just shoot at a standing target like we do now, just a target that's standing still, it's not moving at all. And then they would get bored with it because they were hunter-gatherers, right? This is all that they had to do, was to train and hunt, train and hunt until later in life it turned into war, right?
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But so the kids at a little bit older age, they'd start shooting at these rolling hoops, and they'd try to make it through the hoop. Well, they'd get so good at that they would get bored with that, and they would start shooting flying grasshoppers. Nice. And I just thought about, like, here I am with this compound, in my backyard, set up at 30 to 40 yards.
Yeah.
And I'm having trouble hitting the 12 ring.
Right.
You know what I mean? And these guys are shooting arrows that are made out of just random pieces of wood, chipped rock. They're no arrows the same, weight-wise. I wouldn't think.
I bet they sorted them out somehow, though.
Yeah.
So as like an archery coach or a guy that geeks out about that, like I wonder what process that they taught. There had to have a shooting form of some. I'm sure as little kids they didn't. But they had to have a way to get really good and consistent. And, like archery is a body of knowledge. It's like a guild. Every new generations don't have to reinvent the wheel and learn how to shoot a bow again. Good thinkers add to that body of knowledge, and it gets better all the time. But I wonder what was passed through their generations on how they shot the bow.
Yeah,
that's what I would like to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I've never really thought about it that way, but I guess, yeah. I mean, I would imagine that the elders or the older guys or the warriors in whatever tribe that they were in, I'm sure that they spent time with the kids teaching them, because that's the future, of the tribe.
You can look at other cultures, the Mongols or the Huns, they had very specific ways that they shot those bows, or the Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Seen Japanese archery.
I need to go down that rabbit hole, too. That would be cool.
I've never seen anything about how Native Americans did it.
Yeah.
I'd love to know that.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody's listening to this, please reach out to either me or Tom.
Yeah.
We'll try to figure that out together. That would be awesome to kind of know. But I just thought about all that. And, I found a bunch of arrowheads because that was one of my grandfather's passions when we were going out. We'd go out to South Park and
me too.
We had
I'm
some
bow hunting. I'm looking for arrowheads.
Yeah, isn't that so cool to pick up something like that? Yeah. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Sit there and hold that in your hand and think of the man that shot this thing or made this thing.
And it's not very often that you find a full one, That's pretty rare. A lot of times they're broken, and I think that they probably just left him there, They probably killed something.
Yeah, they break down a scapula, some elks.
Yeah.
Something,
But, man, it's so cool. And you just see all the differences in size, too, and it was almost kind of like their signature at that point, I think, is how they would nap out these arrowheads. And just really cool culture, man. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
But, yeah, we'll get off of that. but I wanted to get into, you coach. You've also developed some products that I want to get into here in a few minutes, but I want to get more into the coaching.
Okay.
And not only do you coach just your average people that walk in the door, I've seen some of your guys' posts, and I would love to be a part of this if we can help in any way. You guys coach some special needs people on how to shoot, traditionally, or whatever the best setup is for them, I think I've seen some people in wheelchairs and they're shooting with a release, but it's like a recurve bow, and maybe it's on their hand backwards, or whatever they need to do to make that work, right? And I just thought that is one of the coolest things, and how much I love archery, and I can imagine, for somebody like that to get into something. And one of the biggest things that I love about archery and shooting traditional, I guess, is I compare it to like riding a motorcycle, and I don't know if you're a motorcycle guy or not.
No, I bought a motocross bike once and dumped it a few times and said, this is not for me.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's the picture. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, that guy there could not move his hands. And this is a group from Craig Hospital. So every one Sunday a month, our whole crew get together and we host some combat vets and some folks from Craig Hospital. And these folks from Craig Hospital, a lot of times this is the first time out of Craig because they got some mobility somewhere. And if they've got some mobility somewhere, we will find a way for them to shoot a bow. And then, like that guy, I think he's got a fixture on that. So School of Mines kind of got involved with the program, and they made some fixtures. So, like, we have that's probably
awesome.
a 7-pound recurve that young man is shooting, and he can't move his hands. So we have a fixture that holds the bow in his hand that Craig Hospital had.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. So it's attached to the riser.
Yeah,
there, huh?
And then it's strapped to his wrist. He can move his arms a bit. He can move it. He can separate them. You can see, take that rear hand to his face, but he can't pull a trigger. So that was with a release trigger, like a compound release trigger. And they put a fixture on it. It's like a big paddle. And so he could pull it up to kind of an anchor point.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
I'll tell you about her in a second.
Yeah.
And so he could make his aim, and then he'd pull his arm back a little more, and pull that paddle against his face would release the arrow.
Really?
And so he's doing that shot. Yeah, we load the arrow on the bow for him. But we find a way for that young man to shoot a bow.
That's incredible.
In his condition, with his injuries, which is...
Yeah. And how much do they got to enjoy that. You either love archery or you don't.
Well,
you know?
I'll tell you, a lot of these young men or women get wheeled in, and when you wheel them in, if you say hello to them, they won't look at you. You might get an answer. And by the time they're wheeling out, they're talking to you and smiling.
That's great.
So,
yeah, it's definitely there's something about a bow hunter's confidence, or just an archer's confidence, because really to make a shot, even with a compound, for me anyways, there's an element of confidence that has to come behind every arrow.
Yeah, there is.
And if not, you can forget about it. Yeah. For me anyways,
There's one guy that was in a chair. He could pull back, and I had to hit the trigger for him before we had this apparatus. But he couldn't raise his arms up to shoulder height. He could just keep them right down by his waist. I said, okay, bud. You know the old gunslingers? They pull a draw, fast, quick draw, and they shoot right from the hip. I said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to gunsling this bow. I said, you just pull it back there. You can see the pitch of the arrow down there below your waist. You just pull that back, and it's you shooting, man. You tell me when that arrow's going, because it's your aim. And I said, what's happened is visual proprioception is this thing in our brain that's seen and felt position. And pretty soon, you'll walk those arrows right into the target. So he pulls it back there. He goes, okay, I'm ready. And I touch off the trigger, blink, it's low. I said, good line on that one.
Yeah.
I said, yep, you can see your aim's going to have to be a little higher. Anyway, we walked those arrows right into an X-ring.
Yeah.
That was one of those guys that when they come in, they're pretty dang sad.
Yeah.
When they're wheeling out, they're talking to you, and they've had a good day, the first good day.
And that kind of puts life in perspective for all you guys all my buddies out there that'll throw their bow on the ground and get all pissed off and stuff,
exactly.
Like your day's maybe not so bad,
exactly.
You're not having to shoot with your teeth,
For a lot of these folks, it's the first good day they've had in a really long time.
Yeah.
And
that's incredible.
It's the best day of a month.
Well, I'd love to help you out in any way that we can. Just you got a direct line to me, so let me know when that's happening.
Yeah,
if
you want
it's
to volunteer
even,
and come help.
I'll come sweep the floor. I don't care.
Yeah.
Why that's all going on or whatever. So I think it's great, and
it's pretty cool.
I love that you guys do that.
That gal there, she's missing a leg, and she's not mobile with that right hand.
Wow.
So she can't use it to shoot a bow with. So she's got a strength in her left hand, and we built a mouth tab. So we put a strap of leather on the string, and she bites that tab and stretches her arm out in front of her and tilts her head so she can look over the arrow to make her aim, and then opens her mouth to let it go.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I put a post.
It's unbelievable.
Excuse my language, but this lady's a badass. And she is.
That's
right?
Perfect, yeah.
All these people are
a great post.
Because they're out there doing it. Yeah, that's cool stuff.
That's awesome,
We don't advertise it much. It would go against the reason we do it.
Yeah.
We don't advertise it at all. Put a couple posts to show how inspiring these people are. The only thing.
No, it really is, and that's where I caught it. I had no idea that you guys did this, but I think it's such a great thing, and
There's a foundation. There's a guy named Bob Adware that came to us, approached us if we want to do something like that. and I forgot the name of his organization, but he's associated with SCI. And SCI has this outreach program to combat vets in Craig Hospital to provide outdoor experiences for these folks that have been through a lot, So, God bless Bob Adware for organizing this thing. So it's pretty easy yes for us. Heck yeah.
Do you know, is there a website for his foundation or something that we can give him
to you? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremy, maybe if you could look that up for us, that way we can give him a shout out, and I'm sure that they would appreciate any donations or whatever, however they set up,
they
to keep it going.
COVID has shut us down.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Big time.
Yeah. So we haven't had him in for a few months now. Darn it.
What was the name of the foundation?
I'll look that up for you.
Okay.
We'll throw it in.
No hurry. We'll
it's through SCI is the sponsoring organization that does this.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, that's an amazing deal. And, like you said, these kids walking into an archery shop and being a little bit intimidated at the whole thing, I think it can be intimidating for anybody to walk in the door, especially because if you're a normal person, you want to fit into a crowd or whatever. If you want to be a bow hunter, you
don't want to ask the dumb question,
right?
And like I started in that point earlier. That first elk, we had a T-handled little aluminum saw, and we were looking at how to butcher animals. We sawed that elk from tip to tail. Down the middle of its spine.
You had hamburger.
It took us, 2.5 hours to saw that spine down the middle. And, third rib up, there's our quarter.
Yeah.
Hucked him back to camp, man.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, but we got a little better at it as years went by.
Yeah. Yeah, but if somebody were to just get in, because archery is so intimidating and there's so many different setups and right down to arrow weight and tip weight, and what I find a lot of times is a lot of the bow techs or the people that are setting you up sometimes have their own opinions and stuff like that. And one thing I love about you guys is you'll kind of will lay all those out and let people kind of make their own choices. You'll make the best suggestion for them.
Yes.
But what are some of the things that or the process that you kind of go through if you've had somebody walk in the shop that's never shot a bow before?
Okay, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll go, I don't know what to even ask. I said, no problem. I know the questions. I know the answers. Come on over here. Let's grab a bow. And we start out. I kind of start showing them what an archery shot's all about, And even if they've got 20 minutes, I'm going to have them shoot an arrow. And typically we've kind of refined our process. We can get them on the target half hour for sure.
Yeah.
They don't have to know a dang thing. They just have an interest. Show them the different kind of bows. We'll grab a 15-pounder, something really nice and noodly and easy. We'll start teaching body positions and movements that are related to archery, just like getting coached in anything. Here's the basics. Here's the foundation. And we just go on from there. And, it's cool, being in the business for quite a while now. Some of these people are really good archers now.
That's great.
That information on tip weight, we start teaching that as when the time comes, they learn all about that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I think that there's so much information out there to digest, and I think really just starting with the basics, if you're going to get into it, is great. The other thing I wanted to ask you, because I know that you've helped some like world-renowned bow hunters, like shout out to Aaron Schneider. I've been following him for a while, and I actually watched him make the transition. He made the transition with you to traditional archery, right?
Yeah.
And now he's a heck of a traditional hunter. I mean, he's killed a lot of animals.
Oh, a ton. Yeah.
And just a great guy, in my opinion.
He is a great
I don't
guy.
know him personally, but I'd love to get him on the show at some point.
He's a generous person and a really good friend, and probably a really bad enemy.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of the shots that I've seen him take just from watching videos and stuff, like
That's
60 yards with a traditional bow, and crazy.
We'll put that stuff out there, and some guys, there's your Instagram group or Insta group. No, he can do it.
Yeah,
he can sit up there 40 yards and put them all in a softball-sized group.
That's amazing.
Time after time.
Yeah,
he's that good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I've had the pleasure.
I love listening to his stories, too, because he's just got some crazy stuff. I was listening to, this was a while back, but he was talking about shooting a Wolverine and like how many arrows he had to put in it and the whole experience. And we won't dive into that too much. I'll let you go listen. He's got a great podcast. It's called Cafaro
Cast.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a really good podcast. I urge anybody that's looking to get into archery, and you've been on that show several times too. And it's just a wealth of information when it comes to archery, for sure.
Yeah. He puts out great information.
He really does. But what are some of those transitional points? Because as a compound shooter, it's got to be, and you're looking. I call it going to the next level, because it really is. I mean, it's a feat, I think, to hunt traditionally is a whole nother ball game rather than just shooting traditionally,
Yeah.
But what are some of those steps, or what would you suggest right off the bat? I mean, obviously I'm going to suggest somebody come see you guys for some coaching, but maybe they don't live in Colorado. And I know that you just came out with video program, right?
Yeah, I have an online. I have a 5-hour online shooting course, and it goes right into very high level stuff. I mean, right from scratch. It's a lifetime purchase of $200. There's an active Q&A on it constantly. And the people in the course reach out to me all the time. Heck, I'll help anybody who reaches out to me. I don't care. You got a question, call. Anybody in our shop's the same way.
That's great.
You're struggling with something, give us a buzz.
It's almost unheard of nowadays. Yeah. Normally you're talking to a computer. So there's a resource like that. They're online, the internet is such a minefield of good and bad information. It's really hard to sort out. It truly is. Mm-hmm.
So, through my Instagram stuff, I've been doing a lot lately with shooting tips, I do it. I've done a lot of podcasts, YouTube videos, that kind of stuff. I've done a Q&A. If you Google my name, you'd probably pop a bunch of those would pop up.
I love your tips that you put on, where you're talking about how to make a more stable core so you can shoot more accurately at longer distances. Just stuff like that I pick up from you.
One post might be on stance. One might be on alignment. One might be on a subconscious release or, whatever. I'm trying to throw more of those out there. And if you can get enough to shoot well, a lot of people do, honestly. A lot of people come in for a lesson. Hey, I've been listening to your stuff, and they'll come in and it's like, if I don't know that, they're like, wow, like you got a really solid shot. We're going to change a few things now. Let's make it a little better. Where'd you learn that? I've been listening to your push podcasts on the coaching moments, and then I see your videos. And
that's another great podcast. I've only listened to a couple episodes on that one.
Yeah.
Have you been on that podcast?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Oh, really?
Did a whole series on coaching moments. We
cool.
broke
I'll have
the
to
shot
check
down
those
into
out.
pieces, and I kind of went in depth verbally, about how to put a shot together. And so it's a great resource. Refer a lot of people to that. We're going to start putting a lot of content through an RMS Gear YouTube channel and a Solid Archer Mechanics YouTube channel. That's what the course's name is, Solid Archer Mechanics.
Okay.
We have a solidarchermechanics.com you can buy it off of, or through the Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear website. It's at either place. So
that's great.
That is.
It's so great to have that in the back pocket. And now, no matter where you're at in the world, you can use use it.
There's awesome. A couple guys in Austria I talked to.
Really?
They took the course and they usually reach me through Instagram or emails, right? And we're passing videos back and forth, and what do you think, Tom? And okay, this is your homework assignment. This is what I want you to work on next. I get a great deal of pleasure out of that.
That's really cool.
There are guys all over the country, sending me videos so we can keep them moving, right?
Yeah.
I spend, the thing's been out for over a year and a half now, so the Q&As, the question and answers that's active on the thing, they're getting less and less because there's so many. The common questions have come up, and I spent a ton of time answering those things within the course. So, but there was time where, just need clarification. It kind of keyed me in on what to teach better in my shop, actually, through the videos. But, that's one resource. But there's good stuff out there.
That's great.
There's good stuff out there.
And you've also developed, and I really want to talk to you about this because I didn't really know about it until I started doing the homework for this podcast. And I had seen it pop up. I guess I just didn't really put two and two together or dive deep into it. Mm-hmm. But I want to know about your solid grip clicker or trigger?
Grip trigger. Yeah.
Grip trigger. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I knew I was going to screw that up.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make this short because it's a subject I go super deep on.
Sure.
But a plague to any archer is target panic. And a super common core reason for that is that when we're learning to shoot a bow, we're very process-oriented. We're going through the steps, and then you hit an anchor, and then you aim, and then you release. And pretty soon, we develop what we call imprinted motor programs. We develop patterns in our brain so we can turn that into a subconscious movement. So you've got conscious and subconscious control systems. Subconscious can do very complex things, a number of them at the same time that are trained as patterns in your brain, right? What we call muscle memory. And something just needs to cue those. Something needs to start. It can be something we can see, a visual cue. It can be an audible cue. Something here. It can be a tactile cue. It can be a word or a thought. It can all cue a very complex set of movements that you don't have to think about because you've trained them. Well, let's go back to that archery shot. So we're shooting a bow and we're we're going through the process and putting our body in those positions. We anchor the bow, and then we aim, and then we release. Pretty soon you don't even have to think about anything in the archery shop. It's one long motor program. Pretty soon it's just aim, release. And then what happens is pretty soon it's aim, release. And then it's aim, release. And it's aim, release. And then it's almost anchor and release. Because what has happened is your brain, has used the aim as the cue to the motor program to release the arrow. And all of a sudden the string is completely out of your control. So when you're in that time...
I'm going to come see you on Monday.
Okay. So, as a compound shooter especially, that trigger punch becomes a subconscious movement cued to that sight pin going across the bullseye. Right?
Yep.
Well, there's another factor that jumps in on us too, and that is based in this root cause. There's a guy named Joel Turner. He has a whole online course called Shot IQ. It's all about mental management, and it's all about how to shoot under control, under pressure. And so I teach all the same stuff, but just a shout out to Joel because he's the original thinker on a lot of this stuff. He put together, as a firearms instructor for the state of Washington police academies, he put together the verbiage and outlining it as something that we need to be concerned with. The fact that, how your body reacts to a gun going off with recoil anticipation?
Yeah.
Our body does the same thing with a bow going off.
Yeah.
You just never get to dry fire a bow to see those movements or muscle contractions that are linked to the bow going off. So it's called linked bracing. We brace as a link to the shock of the bow going off. Because anything, this is a hardwired fact, anything that causes your body pressure, impact, or shock, you're going to contract muscles for. You're going to brace for. So I do this little drill in the shop to demonstrate to you guys. I'll have a guy hold his hand out. So I'm just going to touch your hand few little times with my two little fingers, and I'll just put it in front of their face, and they can see my fingers coming, and I'll touch, and then I'll go right to about the touch, and I'll sink it under where they can't, where I don't touch, and they move their hand towards me.
Oh yeah, because they're anticipating.
Built in, it took their brain one touch to learn to brace for my two little fingers touching their hand. I'll go, how much shock is that bow giving you compared to my two little fingers touching your hand?
Yeah.
Well, I could hold it still. Okay, let's do it again. They'll either brace like that and move it towards me, or they'll hold it real still. And I'll say, fine, you held it still, but what was going up there in your shoulder? You tightened the heck out of all those muscles, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did. Well, guess what? That's a brace. And that will affect your shot.
Yeah.
So anyways, the Scrip Trigger, what it does is it's really a thing that happens quickly. And like take an Olympic archer, they have a riser-mounted clicker. Their arrow slides under a little piece of metal, and when it completely is done sliding through it, the point comes behind it, it snaps against the bow. Well, that's their trigger for their release. So just like our brains link the release to the aim, we can rewire that. We'll link it to that pop from that clicker, or in my case, this little impulse that you get in your thumb pad that's on the grip of the bow. Mm-hmm. And so it takes literally 2 to 5 shots. That's
so
how
the
quick
clicker
our brain
is something that goes basically where you would put your palm.
Thumb pad. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And so it's the pressure point of the bow. So what happens is we set it up just off of direct pressure, so we can come up, we can draw the bow into anchor, we can place an aim. Now here's just a fundamental thing about archery. We always want to shoot a shot with increasing tension on the string as opposed to decreasing tension on the string. Because if you have decreasing tension, first of all, that's variable. You never know how much decreasing tension you're going to have. And second of all, it creates a loss of alignment of the front arm. The front arm kind of caves in when you lose that tension.
Yeah. And that's where you'll get some of that arrow kick from, right?
And you'll have right side misses for a right-handed archer.
Yeah.
And so, but when you increasing tension on the string right through the release and follow through, you stay in alignment. The arrow goes right down the middle. Okay? So anyway, we get into holding position and we go into this part called the expansion phase of shot where we're increasing tension on the string. Well, that's gathering tension on the grip of the bow. And what it did, we made this little thing, this little piece of stainless steel that's sandwiched in between these piece of leather on top and a sticky bottom that's glued in there on exactly the right position. And as that pressure in the bow grip gathers, that little piece of stainless steel deflects and pops. Well, you link your brain to that for your release motor program. It takes 2 to 5 shots.
Really?
And so so instead of these guys that can't pull into an anchor and shoot, they have to snap shoot because it's just gone. Well, back to your subconscious aiming. They're all focused on aiming. Conscious control system, the brain can only direct one activity at a time. You can only think about one thing at a time. Conscious control.
I won't comment on what mine thinks about most of the time.
Right. We would. It could be an interesting podcast. Right.
Yeah, here we go.
We joke like that.
Yeah.
Subconscious control, several complex sets of movements. Conscious control, one. So if you're thinking about aiming and you're a compound shooter and you're all in there and you're focused on trying to keep that pin in the bullseye, and the subconscious knows that that's what it wants, and it's where the cobra strikes occur, right?
Yeah.
And when the cobra strikes occur, your brain knows when the bow's going off, and it'll link the brace at the same time. And all of a sudden you're yipping that bow, and you don't even know it.
So this isn't something that's just for traditional archery. Oh, Jeremy's got a picture of it.
Yeah, that is for a traditional bow, because with a release with a compound bow, you do it with the sear.
Okay.
So we have a controlled trigger press with a compound bow, and I teach it through back tension, a proper archery movement, until a sear breaks, so it goes off as a surprise. So I always ask the guy, what's the one thing you got to do to shoot a firearm well? The one thing. Forget stance, breathing, the rest of that. The one thing. You have to have a great trigger press to make the gun go off as a surprise. Because with a gun, we know we flinch. Throw an empty cylinder in a revolver. Boom, 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 flinch.
Yep.
You push that gun at the target, right? We know it's a fact. With bow, not so much. We know it doesn't hurt. There's not smoke, fire, and a big explosion, right?
Right.
And impact or recoil from a big gun, right? Well, same thing happens with a bow. And when you're calm, it's very small. But when you're excited, screaming bullocks in your face,
Yeah.
the muscle contraction linked to the bow going off is giant. You can yip that thing right over their back easy. But anyway, if you're not subconsciously aiming, the fact is, if you just put your aim on it and just look at it, the subconscious will keep it there.
Yeah.
That's something that has
It's
to be
incredible.
learned by every archer. You learned it that day in the shop.
I had no idea. I'd never heard that. And it
Then you could process
game
it.
changer.
Yes, and then you could, in a controlled manner, squeeze the trigger.
Yeah, because I wasn't worried about trying to time the pin floating around.
No,
Especially when
no.
you're trying to shoot at like 60 yards or something like that.
Exactly.
The target's a lot smaller.
But the
you know?
subconscious will
Yeah.
always, when it comes off the middle, the subconscious will always put it back to the middle. It knows its job.
It's insane.
And the
Yeah.
subconscious reaction is faster than a conscious reaction. So it does it quicker and steadier than you trying to control it.
I was so excited about that when I went home and shot and was.
And shot better immediately,
Oh my God!
right?
Yeah. I thought I just signed a deal with the devil. You know what I mean?
It's weird because
Yeah.
it's counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, the grip trigger is we're not shooting when we aim, and so we aim and then we see the target. Now there's another job to do, which you have to think about: increase tension on the string, and all of a sudden that thing deflects, pop, and the release happens as a surprise, just like with your compound. And so there's no link brace, and the arrow goes right where it's pointed.
That's
And
awesome.
it's an immediate management of target panic of that form.
And how many like prototypes did you go through to develop
it took
this
a
thing?
year to develop. It took
Really?
As an old guy, I got a patent approval really fast. It takes
Yeah?
like a year and a half at least to get a patent. And but they say if you're 65 years or older, you're not going to have as much time to enjoy your patent, so they'll rush the process.
Really?
So we took advantage of that, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
And so Alex and I
never
pretty
knew that.
much were involved. There's another guy that in the concept with it. He's developing one that's built in the grip. It's on the patent too. But Alex is kind of my protege as an instructor. He's a tremendous instructor at the shop now. He handles pretty much third or half of the lessons that come in now.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. I've
Yeah.
talked to him a few times, I think,
really
when I've
sharp
been in there.
young man. So
Yeah.
anyway, Alex was kind of he's got the engineering background, and he had most to do with how to make this thing work. And I can't tell you how many materials we bought in different manners. And the dies to punch out that little piece of spring steel is like $3,000. There's 16
Oh,
grand a
jeez.
patent. It is a giant payback.
So are you guys making these in-house or is it?
Yeah. So we're making them in-house.
That's really cool too.
Payback's
So.
about 1,000 units. We're 600 there. They've sold really well, and guys are going nuts.
Well, I'm going to come buy one this week for my son and
It'll be a game changer.
And for me.
For your recurve shooting, it's
Yeah.
a game changer. Absolutely game changer.
that's awesome. And kind of going back to, I didn't finish because we got kind of veered off here a little bit, but
Yeah.
the one thing I love about shooting a bow, and I was comparing it to motorcycles, is when you're riding a dirt bike and you're jumping, there's not much else that you can think about. You're not thinking about, like, did I pay my mortgage?
Right.
Are my kids okay? You might be thinking, am I going to die if I don't land this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But archery, to me, is very much the same way. And
Very much the same.
I try to shoot daily, so I try to go out, like, on a lunch break or in the mornings when I've found myself inspired by Cameron Haynes. Shout out to Cameron Haynes, by the way, too. But I found myself now, especially with the COVID thing, because I'm not going to a gym. I'm working out, and then in between reps, I'll shoot around out of my bow, and it's just it's like the perfect amount of time. And not to mention, it's made me to where I'm shooting fatigued a little bit. But the thing I love about archery, and if you're getting into it, you don't have to be a hunter to get into archery. It's a lot of fun. There's these 3D shoots that you can go to that are a lot like hunting, know. And for me, shooting daily is kind of my time to let my brain decompress, because when you're in that mode of taking that shot, you can't think about anything else. Like right now, you're just trying to survive and make that arrow go where it needs to go.
Yeah. I'd say 75% of the year and 75% of our customers just shoot the bow for the pure enjoyment of shooting the bow.
Yeah.
And so obviously we serve bow hunters, but mostly it's just archers.
It's like throwing darts or shooting pool on a whole nother level,
like I'm around this all day, every day. But if I've had a stressful day to me is we had so many customers and we couldn't provide the level of service that we want to every person because there's so many people in the shop. That's stressful to me. Like, we can't do our top job for everybody. Do our best, but that's stressful. If I get a stressful day, I come home, what do I do to unwind? Walk out in my backyard and shoot arrows.
Yeah.
Right?
It really does. Nothing makes you smile more than a bullseye or a 12 ring or whatever you're doing.
There must be endorphins or something. Like people ask you, what's so enjoyable about that? It's hard to tell a person.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is.
It's all good stuff, though. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it can be as simple as you want it to be, or it can be as complex at a high level as you want it to be. That's another cool thing about it. You can just enjoy it in your backyard, or you can go compete.
Yeah.
At any level. You get better, just keep walking up the steps.
No, it really is true. And there's so many different things now, too. Are you going to attend the Total Archery Challenge that's in Colorado for the first time?
I'd like to. I've never made any of the ones out of state.
I'd love to go up there. I'm going to see if time allows. And I'm not sure what's going on with the whole COVID thing or how they've had to restructure. Yeah. But I know for a while there it was sold out. I think for the 3-day passes or something like that. And now when I went back online, I actually went on this week because I know it's coming up pretty quick. And I think that I saw that the 3-day passes were back up again as well.
People had to change travel plans.
Yeah,
and stuff
they
like
probably
that.
shut a lot of it down. But I'm super excited about that because I've never experienced that. I've only seen it online and stuff. And they got some pretty gnarly shots lined up there, I think, like some 100-yarders and stuff like that.
Arrows.
Yeah, exactly.
Be good for
the arrow manufacturers are loving it right now, right?
Yeah, guys like me.
So if we got any archers that are listening to the show, which I'm sure that we do have a few out there, what are some things that they can do to improve their shot just right off the bat that comes to mind? Like finding good form or...
Finding good form, it's all about process. Finding out about these concepts of a controlled trigger press through back tension, subconscious aiming. What the heck's going on when I punt that trigger? Like there's a lot of what's going on. That pin looked like it was right on the bullseye, and this thing's 8 inches up and to the right. Yeah, we can tell you what's going on. We can fix that. Give us a call. We'll walk you through it on the phone, or come down for a lesson. I don't have anybody pay for a lesson until I'm done. It's like, if that was worth it, pay for the lesson. If not, that's fine.
Yeah, and funny enough, I probably should have paid you for them, but the couple times that I've been down there get lessons, it's like...
We don't do that. We teach 75% of our time is teaching archery outside of a paid lesson.
Yeah.
We also offer paid lessons. That's dedicated time. It's on the schedule. It's from 1 to 3 or whatever, and it's we go to a separate archery range, and we're working dedicated to you and your shot, high-level stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But everybody that walks in, hey, if you're struggling with something, hey, would you mind, this is how you get help in our shop. Would you mind watching my shot?
Yeah.
That's how you get help. And we'll go back there, and I've given 3-hour lessons on a slow day because there was nobody out in front to go help in the store. Heck, I'll keep coaching.
Yeah.
No, we do way more coaching non-fee than fee.
No, you really do.
And everybody in our shop is certified instructors. And we've got high-level instructors. I'm a level 4, Jerry's a 3. Everybody's got at least a 2, but the 2s know way more than 2s because they all are training under me. So we've got really high-level instructors.
That's awesome.
Even I've got good compound shooters come in. It's like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? I can find something.
Yeah, right.
We'll turn some micro dials.
Yeah, I need to bring my compound down there. Whenever I come in, it's normally for recurve or traditional type stuff, but
yeah,
I definitely
bring your compound.
I do need to do that.
And you go, hey Tom, mind watching my shot?
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I do, buddy.
All right, I'm gonna do it on Monday.
Yeah,
I'll be down there.
Sounds good, buddy.
So, I'm sure I know that you've done a lot of podcasts. I'm sure you probably can't even count or remember how many you've done.
That many, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Under 20. Probably.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good. I think you're episode 12, so you got us beat. But what are some things that you do outside of archery? I mean, we've heard a lot about that, and I'm sure every podcast that you go on, it's archery, the whole time. Are you a baker, cooker, any of that sort of stuff?
No, I'm a family guy and an outdoor guy. We have family dinners every Sunday. All my grandkids are running around. It's noisy as all get out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or this Sunday after next, we're all going to be fishing. 4th of July weekend, we're going to be fishing. All those grandkids, we're a really super family and outdoor-oriented family. And so, kind of priorities are in line, I think.
Yeah. And your business is a family business, right? Your boys work there, and
yeah. Tommy remotely now because moved his wife back to Wisconsin. She's wanted to be close to mom and stuff, but he still has got his fingers in it. He's still on the payroll, still got his fingers in it.
Yeah.
He helped build the dang thing. So in stores, my son Dan. Dan's turned into a heck.
He's an incredible hunter too, man. Some of his posts are.
He is an incredible hunter, but he's not a guy that wants notoriety.
Yeah.
But if you saw the things he did, it's like his knowledge is unbelievable. He's the real deal. Yeah, he's a great guy to get advice from for hunting, shooting. He's a heck of a bow tech now. Was a college wrestler. Has had 9 shoulder
he was
surgeries.
a D1 wrestler, wasn't he?
Yeah, both my boys were. 9 shoulder surgeries, only one non-wrestling related. So he can't shoot a recurve anymore. Grew up with one. You should see the game he's taking with a recurve. It's impressive. He shoots a compound now.
Oh, there he is now. Look at that photo. That is awesome.
That photo is my granddaughter.
Yeah, that's great.
Isn't that cool? But,
that's so cool.
Anyway, so Dan shoots a compound, can't shoot a recurve, and he's a heck of a tech now. So Matt's a guy that is our lead on the compound side, and since Dan's the next guy in line there, and we've just got another guy Mark that added the crew. So that side of the business is just growing like crazy. I'm sure we'll overtake the trad side. There's a lot more compound shooters.
Sure. Well, it's great that your shop offers both too.
We kind of want to be an all archery shop.
Yeah,
we've got the biggest traditional presence in the country, and that includes everything from feeder rigs, target rigs, to classics, to new customs, to entry-level bows, to just you name it, to primitive bows, on that side. And then, we got the high-tech side, its own kind of little, the third of the store is the compound shop. And then we got 30 lanes of archery range, which you can't use now because of COVID.
Yeah, what are your restrictions right now because of all that? I mean, is the shop fully open, or what are you guys?
It's fully open, has been for a while. We were closed for 6 weeks. We're closed for a month and a half. And I got to tell you, talk about the archer community. We had more people, hey, what can we do for you? Anything we can do for you. You guys can't go out of business.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So we kept it open for mail order. We kept the doors locked, but we were doing mail order, handing stuff out the door. And I got to tell you, people I know were just trying to help us. We'd get phone calls. Hey, I need a $300 gift card. I know he didn't need a gift card.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were just giving us some cash flow when we needed it.
That's great.
We had guys like, hey, I need a dozen arrows. Well, make it 2 dozen arrows. I knew that guy didn't need 2 dozen arrows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about a target for a long time. I'm just going to go ahead and buy that big old target. Whatever. I can't tell you the amount of that went on, and we're like, these people are awesome. They're just trying to help us.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And we survived it. Made payroll and rent.
That's great.
I was just concerned with payroll. I'm going to keep my crew alive. I don't care what else. That's my biggest asset.
Yeah.
My family. And fortunately, we also paid rent.
Yeah.
Kept current. It's been very busy since we've been open. So.
That's great. Yeah, that's super fortunate. And I think that says a lot about the archery community and bow hunters in general, and how much,
big heart.
I really appreciate what you guys do for everybody, and how much of an advocate that you are for bow hunting. So I really do appreciate that. And I think that there's a lot of businesses that unfortunately have just suffered, because people don't see that. I'm big into jiu-jitsu and, grew up wrestling and all that sort of stuff. And those poor people, I know so many people that have gyms and are just
gyms, restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just terrible.
Yeah. So if you have the means to help people out like that, please do, because we're going to get it back eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy a gift card.
Yeah.
For those
something.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
Tough business.
And some of them are doing a really good job at doing some online stuff. Like one of the places where I take jiu-jitsu, the Pack Fitness up here, and shout out to Dave Roberts, just great people. And they put a ton of online content to stuff that you could do by yourself.
Nice.
It's all done in a gi. I don't know if you've ever messed around with jiu-jitsu at all, but I guess there's traditional and then there's non-traditional. It's a lot like archery, right? It's a never-ending learning process. And you can go down a ton of rabbit holes and go as deep as you want in it. Yep. But they did a bunch of really cool stuff where you could just work with your own gi at home. So as long as you had a carpet to lay on or somewhat of a soft surface, right?
Nice.
And just
kept you going, kept you training.
Just doing some stuff like that to stay in shape and stuff like that. But do you do any sort of strength and conditioning or anything like that on a daily basis or anything like that for
me personally?
Yeah, to base towards archery or
man, this time of year I'm really walking a lot. I hit the fire road a couple times a week if I can. So I'll start getting the pack on and hitting the hills pretty soon here. You gotta have to, right? You gotta get that leg burn going. At my age, I've got a guy named Matt Bernier, the Muscle Project, and he's got an unbelievable knowledge base in physiology, the whole musculoskeletal nervous system, and he does a lot of work on our bodies, but a lot of the conditioning stuff I've really learned from him. I was really out of shape. I had a filmed hunt in Montana last year, and here it is. I hadn't got busy, and I don't know, it was May, and he's like, man, I got no time. He goes, I'll help you. He goes, here's what I want you to do. He says, I want you to walk for 45 minutes every night around your neighborhood. Yeah, I can do that. I'll grab a pack. And he said, no, just walk around your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
He says, that's what you want me to do for conditioning? He said, yeah. He goes, you going to trust me to do this right for you? I said, yeah, I'll trust you. He goes, that's all I want you to do.
Wow.
So a week of that went by. I'm like, okay, what are we doing now? Just another week of that. I'm like, really? You just want me to walk? Yeah, just walk 45 minutes. Third week, like, okay, 2 nights I want you to walk an hour and a half. That's it? That's it. When are we going to hit the hill? Not yet. Just putting a base under you.
Right.
And so anyway, to make a long story short, he really taught me the value of not overdriving. Like, as athletes, or you and me, we're taught to just bang at it and just get sore and tear
just keep
up.
going.
He's talking about fast recovery and consistency. And then it turned into a couple times a week, on the fire road with no packs. And then it was 15 pounds, and by the end, my first trip up that road, it's a mile and 1,000 feet. You're right.
Yeah.
Nice little workout in the morning. It's not, you can do it and then go to work, but it's a good huck, nice little quick workout. So first one up there, I think it was like 45 minutes without a pack. And by elk season, it was 25 minutes with 40 pounds on my back.
That's awesome.
And it was just a slow, steady, never got real sore, didn't want me to get sore, didn't want, just let your body acclimate to the load a little at a time. And it's amazing what our bodies will do. I said, I get it, I'm an old guy. He goes, no. I would say the same thing to a young guy. You guys were all athletes. We're all trained. Like, he was a wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu guy,
Yeah.
Like, no, we were all trained to just go pound ourselves to death. No.
Yeah, that's not
and
really
you're sore for 4 days and you don't do anything for 4 or 5 days.
Exactly.
Do something
it's about the
every
consistency,
day,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And don't get yourself at risk of injury.
It should be a habit, not a
Yes.
Yeah, not a
that's
thing.
his main thing is this has got to be a lifestyle habit. So this year I started earlier, which is nice, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's time.
Yeah, no, you
we're
got to
gonna-
do some sort of it, especially if you're hunting the way that you do, where you're
If
backpacking
you're going to
in.
enjoy yourself.
Then you got to pack meat out. That's
Yeah.
a whole nother ball
That's a
game,
whole
right?
nother load,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I've saw something I'm going to try this year, and I haven't quite got into it yet, just because I need a new frame pack or a new meat pack. But I've seen some guys take in the big gas cans, the 5-gallon ones, the real tall ones, and they'll put those in their pack and fill them full of water
Yeah.
and hike uphill. And then they dump it out, so when they're coming downhill, it's not as hard on the joints and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to try that out this year. I'm
That's
excited
not a bad
about
idea
that
because the downhills are the killer.
Yeah, it really is,
There's the
especially when you
brakes.
have that weight.
Yeah, that's hurting yourself.
Yeah,
Trekking poles, man.
yeah, those are
When you're
badass
packing
too.
meat,
Yeah,
gotta have them.
I felt like the old guy buying them a couple years ago, but
Oh no,
Makes a big difference.
My sons were, they're super fit and young guys, and they use them. When
Yeah.
you're packing meat, it's absolutely a must.
yeah, no, they're great. It just adds a ton of stability. I mean,
Oh my
it
gosh,
keeps you
yeah.
from falling, occasionally or whatever.
I
And
don't train
You
'em.
fall with 40 or 50 pounds on your back, it's gonna
Yeah.
hurt.
And like those downhills, especially
Yeah.
on those downhills, you take that weight off your joints. I don't train with them because I noticed that one year I trained with them and then I just didn't have that fine stability in my ankles and that balance,
Sure.
But if I've got a heavy pack, I've got a pole or two.
Yeah. How often do you get guys come in that have shoulder problems and can't shoot at all? Or
A ton. And
yeah.
so a lot of what I teach, I'm a level 4 NTS coach, and there's a giant portion of what I teach to prevent repetitive motion injuries. So a lot of intuitive things in how we draw our bow put stress on small muscle groups and soft tissues that it doesn't need to. A lot of how we release the string and the direction of our tension on that pressure that we're putting on the string will lead to an end of range of motion that you slam into and you're starting impinging stuff. But you change the angles that you're moving from, and all of a sudden you put the stress on bigger muscle groups, and all of a sudden you can shoot stronger, longer, and you stay away from all the impingements, and all of a sudden you can shoot for a whole lifetime, and easier too.
Yeah,
So-
I noticed this year for the first time I had a problem with my left wrist for some reason, and it's been bothering me ever since. And the last podcast that we did was actually with a doctor, Dr. Kevin Cowell, and he was awesome. He trains, he's actually right here in Denver. I think he's pretty close to you. Actually, he might be in Broomfield. Jeremy, you might look that up real quick. But he runs a place called the Climb Clinic.
Okay.
And they're based out of a climbing gym, synthetic wall climbing gym. But he does physical therapy and rehab, and he's got all this crazy technology to work on grips and different muscle groups where he can see, improvement through computer screens and hooking you up to like a dyno and see how much pulling power you have or how much grip power you have in your finger. So he's rehabbing rock climbers on a regular basis, and I said, hey, man, I'm going to be sending you some bow hunters eventually, too, because there's
Yeah,
probably guys with shoulders and
absolutely.
stuff like that. But,
I get a lot of guys with shoulder pain. I can't shoot my bow right now. Let me see how you're doing your business.
yeah,
At these clinics. I had a guy show up to clinic, and this 3-day clinic in Texas, and was like, I'm coming just to learn, but my shoulder is so sore, I can't really shoot much. And all right, so I changed his technique, and second day, he's shooting without pain, shot the whole clinic. Hundreds
Really?
of arrows. It was unbelievable. It's
that's
from a
great to
shot
know,
range.
too.
Yeah, so there's a lot to learn about avoiding repetitive motion injuries in archery.
Yeah. Are you guys hiring at all? I want a gig. I'll send in my resume. Rock and roll roadie turns into wannabe archery tech.
You got to add a RMS Gear podcast then.
Yeah. I got too many hobbies already. I think I'm good at just shooting.
Yeah,
but,
that's in Broomfield. Bob.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, he's got a cool practice. I want to go see him for some certain things, too. And
Heck yeah.
just make range of motion better. He's really big on, using body weight and stuff to correct stuff. So not,
Nice.
not getting into he's got some incredible videos and stuff out there. Really, really knowledgeable guy. And I think he's doing some stuff that a lot of people don't do traditionally, too,
Yeah. No, I'll leave the
And he
training.
cares.
The training is, a lot of shoulder stabilization stuff, but I'll leave that to the trainers.
Yeah.
That's not my that's not my world. That's not my expertise.
But like you said, a lot of that comes from the way you draw and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Like
it's the way you do your business.
Yeah. If somebody's just getting into hunting, and the main reason I started this podcast, and I'm not going to chew up too much of your time, we're kind of coming up on it, but I wanted to ask you this question because I want this podcast to be informative, and I want it to be informative to people that have moved into this area or maybe getting into something like bow hunting or mountain bike riding or something like that. And I'm no expert in any of this, So I'm bringing experts in like you, and people that have done it all their lives, and I try to find people in the Rocky Mountain region that grew up here as well, because I think that holds a lot of value, and I think that there's a lot of ethics that were taught to me by my grandfather and uncle. My dad wasn't around much, but thank goodness I had those guys because they taught me how to ethically hunt and how to be a sportsman. And
I have a similar background.
Yeah.
Dad went around, but I had other people's dads or somebody close enough that took me under their wing.
And what a great thing to have, because so I want this podcast to be informative, and I know that hunting's there's a ton of ethical stuff that comes behind it, and that's not something that you're going to find on a Game and Fish website or something like that, right? Very minimal. Is there something that you would suggest if somebody's just getting into hunting for the first year? My suggestion would be first education. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask guys that have been doing it for 30 years or 40 years.
And that's something you might perceive as a dumb question.
Maybe take, see if you can go with somebody like that, right?
Absolutely.
For your first time.
Have
Learn
a
how to
mentor.
dress an animal. Learn how to, there's a long process, and we won't get into graphic processes on this show. But what are some other things you think that would be great for a first-time hunter to?
Well, to be a bow hunter is kind of a conglomeration of different skills that have to come together. You have to learn to take care of yourself if you're in the wilderness or even in a camping situation. You have to have a certain amount of physical conditioning so you can enjoy your time, because elk hunting is a lot of sweat and exertion. It's a lot of shivering at times. It's a lot of boredom at times. It's a lot of things, right, that aren't real pleasant, mixed in with some of the most exhilarating things that could ever happen to you, ever. And you see some beauty, and you see some wildlife, and you see things that you're like, wow. You feel like the only human that's ever seen it. But, the people in the cities don't get to see that.
Right.
Especially the PETA folks. They never get off the sidewalk.
Yeah.
They see the cruelty and the beauty in nature, right? So anyway, then you have to learn to shoot this weapon well, and so that you can make a shot that doesn't cause undue suffering to the animal that you are killing, okay? And then you have to learn about the habits of that animal, because you got to get in his bedroom, you got to get in his living room, and then once you do that, you have to put this weapon to use or draw a bow with it undetected. There's a lot of stuff to learn, and these skill sets all have to come together. So, the safety of keeping yourself, just issues of hypothermia and overexertion and dehydration and heat stroke. And, there's a lot to learn. And podcasts, I think, in today's world, one of the best sources.
I agree.
Like you said, the internet is chock full.
Check out Aaron's, man. Check out Cafarocast.
Cafarocast is tremendous for
or Brian Call's Gritty Podcast is another great one. There's a ton of hunting ones out there.
Pro shops. Go into the pro shops, man. You come and ask us a hunting question, man. Well, if there's time, we'll talk as long as the next customer doesn't have to need our service, right?
Sure.
A lot of guys, we'll get on Google Earth with them. Okay, now see this saddle here, see this north face here, see this drainage here, this, make plans with a guy to start scouting.
Right.
How do I look at this country? How do I know if anything's in it?
For me, elk season's pretty much year round.
You
know what I mean? I try to shoot at least once a week, minimum.
It comes into your life. It comes to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It does. And it's weird as hunters, our life is kind of, those hunting season dates are kind of earmarks all the way around through the year, right? Okay, it's this season.
Don't talk to me in September.
Yeah. I don't know, but our pro shop, our store, great source of information.
Yeah.
On any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is ask questions and
clinics.
And do your time. I mean, do your homework, do your research, get out there, scout.
Yeah.
Do that sort of stuff, right? To make yourself. I mean, that's really the only way you're going to be successful too, I think.
And don't be afraid just to go do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
Learning, right?
Even if
learning
taking
by
apart an animal. Yeah, there might be some wastage on that first one. You're going to just keep cutting. It'll happen.
Yeah.
You'll get it done. Don't be afraid to do it poorly the first time. Do it the best you can.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just go do it.
Yeah.
I didn't shoot. We just got backpacks on. We walked up in the mountains. I was learning. We didn't have the internet. Well, like I said, we didn't have those resources we do today.
Yeah, now there's a ton of them out there.
Most new guys are pretty well prepared today with the amount of information that's out there.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing too.
Sort out the information. If this makes common sense to you, it's probably good information.
Yeah, and just have good morals, man. Be a good sportsman. If you see somebody, help them out.
On that point, it's like, are you going to hunt this year? He's like, no, I can only shoot really well to 15 yards. I said, well, so why aren't you hunting?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I said, if the animal's at 20 yards, you don't shoot. Now you just got to get 5 yards sneakier or 5 yards luckier with him walking in towards you to get into your effective range. But if that never happens, it's really hard. 15 yards, yep, that's a pretty lofty goal.
Yeah.
Have it within your ethics not to take that shot over your 15, but go out there and learn.
Yeah, exactly. If
if you get to 20 or 30, trust me, you have the thrill of your life.
Yeah. And I set a limit on myself every year. Like, okay, it's like going into the casino. I have this $100, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna, dig into the other pocket for the other $100, which I'm not a gambler by any means, but just as an analogy, or I set a limit. Like I know I can consistently shoot at 40 yards, right?
Now, let me go one step further with that.
Sure.
Find a way to put yourself under pressure.
Yeah,
Find out how your body reacts to anxiety and tension. It might be a 3D shoot. It might be a bet with a buddy. Find a way to reproduce some anxiety in your shot and find out what happens to your body.
Yeah.
When you're fighting through that.
Go shoot with other people. Make it a competition.
Make it a competition.
Yeah.
Do something to replicate. Shoot in front of other people. Walk up to some guy you don't know and go, watch this.
Yeah.
You know
Famous last words, right?
Find a way to replicate some pressure. Competition is great for that.
Sure.
Right.
Because you're going to have pressure.
And then you'll know what your effective range is. How far can I shoot accurately under anxiety? And put that as your limit.
Yeah. And I think another thing, too, or a common mistake that I find, and luckily I've had uncles that have bow hunted their whole lives and stuff and have sent me down the right path, is a lot of guys will just sit there at the range and plunk arrows into a straight target, right, on flat level ground. Mm-hmm. And then you get into an uphill or a downhill situation, which is 90% of elk hunting if you're going to hunt elk.
There's lots of 3D ranges where you can replicate that with.
Yeah.
There's lots of shoots you can go to and find that out. Now, ethical for Aaron Snyder, ethical for me, different.
Yeah, no, that's true.
He can put one in there on a relaxed animal under pressure at 40 yards. I'm not reliable at 40 yards right now.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of the summer under a lot of practice, maybe.
Back to the first time I met you, I knew I loved you right from the get-go because we started talking about yardage and shots and just, getting back into that. And I was just getting back into hunting after, I don't know, a 15-year break of killing any big game. And you were like, I don't really want to hear the stories of guys shooting at 70, 60 yards or whatever. I want to hear the stories about guys taking an elk at 5 yards or 10 yards or whatever that is,
Yeah,
I love that. That was great.
And he shot an elk at 105 yards with his compound.
Jeez.
I was like, man, I'd have respected that a lot more if you snuck into 20 and...
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot harder to get in.
That guy's a heck of a shooter. Don't get me wrong.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
That's a crazy
shot. He can shoot it.
And that's another thing I love about Cam, about shooting under pressure, and that's why I kind of started mixing that into the reps. If you're burning your arms out doing curls or burpees and then pick up your bow and try to shoot while you're winded or anything like that, it's a whole nother ball game.
That might replicate 4 days on the mountain.
Yeah, it's really cool. And me and my son have had a lot of fun with that too, because I'll put the pressure on him, like I'll make him do 15 burpees and then go get your bow, get your tab on, you know.
He's into it?
The deer's running away. Yeah, he's all
Nice,
about it. He's a
nice.
big Cam Haynes fan.
Keeping it fun
yeah.
for him. That's awesome.
But yeah, Tom, I really appreciate your time.
my
I
pleasure
appreciate
anytime, man.
everything that you do for archery
Thank
and
you.
how you treat people. And I urge anybody that's getting into the sport, or if you're visiting Colorado, like I said, go visit Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear. Amazing people that work in there. You guys have just amazing stuff to look at. You guys got everything from Cafaro packs to Sitka gear. You have an incredible knife shop there too, you know, with some awesome knives. I actually have one of them in my pocket right now.
Nice.
Little Benchmade that I bought I feel naked without it if I don't go anywhere without it. But can you tell some people where they can find you, your Instagram, website, all that sort of
sure.
stuff?
Website's rmsgear.com. My Instagram is Tom Clum Sr. Tom _Clum CLUM_SR. The Rocky Mountain has a Facebook page. We're right in Wheat Ridge, within a minute off I-70 off Kipling.
Yeah.
4298 Kipling. It's really easy to find. We're going to have a really active YouTube channel here real shortly. Daughter-in-law's editing videos like crazy.
Oh, man, that's a
content.
tedious job.
We're
Shout
trying
out to her.
Yeah, we're trying to put out a lot of content, the how-to stuff.
Yeah.
You know, compounds and traditional bows, and just you know, further that learning curve and you know, help that newer guy out, let him be more immersed in the lifestyle. I did a tutorial on how to use your own wild turkey feathers and split them and sand them, and
I saw
flesh
that
your
one.
own
It was
arrows
so
with them.
cool.
Yeah, stuff like that. you
Yeah.
know. It's just another way to immerse yourself in the sport. Great
And it's
thing to do
another
with
way
your
to
kids.
utilize the animal that
Yeah.
you're taking. You
I
know?
mean, can
So-
you think of doing that with your son? How cool would that be?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it would
something
definitely.
to do with him. It's an excuse to spend time with him and part your values to him.
And it'll also make him appreciate
your
his gear a
bond.
little bit more, too.
Yes, and
yeah.
use every part of the animal. And yeah,
Yeah, that's
so,
great.
all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, really looking forward to that. And we'll be checking it out. We're big fans of you. So
Thank you, buddy.
if you need anything, you know, holler.
I appreciate
Yeah.
appreciate all the kind words too. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's been an honor having you sit with us. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do it,
Been
too.
my pleasure.
So. All right. Jeremy, you good back there? You still alive?
I'm good.
All right,
Yeah,
man.
that was great.
All right. Thanks again, Tom. Thanks for everybody for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.